Today on the Ayden Jackson Show, we're going to be discussing a new prison for illegals in Florida. We're also going to be discussing firemen getting shot, I guess. All of that and much more on the Ayden Jackson Show. Broadcasting from my studio, my name is Ayden, and this is the Ayden Jackson Show. If you're new here, I'm a country singer / songwriter, and on this podcast, I discuss world news and, of course, country music. If that sounds like a show you like, then please consider subscribing on whatever platform you're listening on. We love to have you along for the ride. It's been a couple weeks since I've recorded an episode. I recorded one that was supposed to be released 2 weeks ago. I recorded it that Sunday, and then I worked for a couple days, and then I went on a trip to Gatlinburg, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute or two. But yeah, I went on a trip to Gatlinburg, and then I didn't have enough time to get the episode fully edited and everything before I left, so that was why there was an episode out that week, and it was released last week, and I did a little video for the end of the episode to update you on a couple of things. It's been a crazy last few weeks, though. When I'm recording this week, I have a week off work this week. I'm not going to get into why or anything that doesn't involve me, whatnot. I have a week off work, though, so it's pretty nice, and yeah. Let's go ahead and get into our few topics, though, and then I'll kind of discuss my Gatlinburg trip a little bit. So, I guess the other day in Idaho, the fire department was called to a fire, and it was a trap. There was a shooter. I think a couple firemen were shot. I don't know the full story, but now they're saying the shooter was more than likely a transgender, and that really wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, because those people are known to have mental illness. But really sucks that happened, and yeah, there's just a lot of crazy people in this world. Like, why would you shoot firefighters? I just think that that's crazy. But the other thing I want to cover in today's episode is there's a new prison for illegals in Florida that's surrounded by alligators, which I think is pretty cool. I think that, mass deportations need to happen. We need illegals out of our country, and the way to get to that is to have a place to house them where they can't escape, because if they escape, they're not going to want to escape. So that's that. I think that's an amazing idea, even though I do think the deportation numbers should be higher, and I don't think illegals should be given mass amnesty, which Trump has kind of talked about, so I hope he doesn't do that. Other than that, though, I think as many of them need to be deported as humanly possible, because they're taking jobs, and there's now a lot of people my age, a little younger, that don't have jobs, and it sucks because, illegals are taking those jobs, and there are some lazy Americans that don't want to work, but there's also Americans that do want to work and just aren't being given a chance. And then places look at you weird when you don't have any job experience, because that's where I was. Anyways, those are like the few major stories. There's a lot of companies now that are removing artificial dyes from their products, like too many to list. It's pretty amazing. Most of them, I think, are going to be by like the end of 2027, so it's going to take a bit of time. I don't eat those products to begin with because I wasn't eating them with the dyes in them, because I started eating better over a year ago, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made. But yeah, I think that's a good thing for the health of America. I don't think people should be eating those products to begin with, but now that they're not going to have dyes in them, that at least makes them a little better. So I went on a trip to Gatlinburg. I said that already at the beginning of the episode, said I'd kind of talk about it. And take one of my in-ears out because these things sometimes drive me nuts when I'm doing an episode. I had a pretty good trip in Gatlinburg. On our last full day there, something happened that I wish I would have handled a lot better. Honestly, I do. It's like I actually wrote a song about the situation, and I'm currently recording it. But there were two girls, very attractive, that I could tell were looking at me when we were on our way up to the hotel room from, shopping downtown Gatlinburg, whatever. We were walking up the ramp to our hotel room, and there's like openings there kind of where people from the pool can see you. You can see people in the pool, whatever. And, I noticed these two attractive girls looking at me, and, my sister and my grandma also noticed it and pointed it out to me, so I knew I wasn't hallucinating or whatever. So I decided to go up to my hotel room, put on my swim trunks, go down there and attempt to flirt with them. It didn't go very well. The honest truth of the story is I ended up getting cold chills, and then I ended up sending my sister up to them, and she said, my brother finds you guys attractive, and they said, oh, thank you. And then they stayed out there for like another hour and a half, I think, after that, and were giving me every sign they wanted me to come up to them. And they even went over to like the vending machine area so I could come up to them, like, and they kept looking at me like it was obvious, and we kept making eye contact, and I really regret my decision making in that moment and wish I could go back to that moment. And I recorded a video and put it out on social media. I was aware when I recorded that like the likelihood of finding them, not very likely, but you never know, and that's why I did that. That's why I put that out there, because it was really affecting me, and it was my stupid decision making in that moment that led to me feeling this way. But I think the situation would be different if they weren't into me and I just found them attractive and they weren't looking at me or anything. But the fact that I had two tens looking at me and attracted to me, and I didn't go up to them and at least get something out of them, at least their names, their number, their social media, whatever. I mean, I wish I would have handled it a lot better, and it's been affecting me for like the last couple weeks, and I wrote a song about it. I'm going to try to have it released within the next few weeks. This next weekend, I'm going to be working on cutting the song, getting it all done. I do plan on having a session musician play pedal steel on it, so that'll be pretty good. I really hope that it turns out good. I don't know. I've never had this much regret about a situation before, ever. And who knows how they're feeling about it. They could not have any regret and done moved on. I don't know. But they were clearly signaling to me and gave me every opportunity to go up to them, and it sucks how I handled it. So I may play the song acoustically on next week's episode. I am next week and the week after going to be working second shift at my job, so I'm going to have to record these episodes at weird times and stuff. But let me know how you like my new recording setup here. I know you probably are like, what changed? What's different? But I now actually have a desk here that's for my podcast specifically, and then I have my music desk over there. But this allows everything to be kind of separated out, and it's pretty cool. I like doing it this way. I like being able to touch my sound pads and, get the sounds I want to play. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for this episode. My name has been Ayden, and this has been The Ayden Jackson Show.